March 6, 1944, 23,000 feet over Germany. A B-17 flying fortress named Hell's Fury thundered deep into enemy airspace. In the tailgunner's seat, Staff Sergeant Michael "Mad Mike" Donovan watched 12 Messerschmitt Bf 109s lining up for attack. Standard procedure said, "Hold your position and fire defensively." Training said, "Conserve ammunition." Common sense said, "Stay alive." But Donovan had other plans. In the next 4 minutes, 12 German fighters fell from the sky. Not a single American bomber was lost. From that day, every gunner in the 8th Air Force learned a new word: aggression. This is the story of how one tailgunner's reckless courage rewrote the rules of air combat, how desperation turned into doctrine, and how the most dangerous seat on a B-17 became the deadliest weapon in the sky. Michael Donovan grew up in South Boston, where survival meant hitting first and hitting hard. His father worked the docks, his older brother boxed Golden Gloves, and Mike learned early that hesitation got you hurt. Action kept you breathing. By 17, he'd fought 32 street fights, won 28, lost 4, because he started too late. When Pearl Harbor was attacked, Donovan enlisted in the Army Air Forces. They wanted him for ground crew. He demanded gunnery school. His instructor called him too aggressive, too reckless, too willing to expose himself to return fire. Donovan's reply became legend. "Dead gunners don't shoot back. Live ones do." He graduated 3rd in his class, not for accuracy but for speed. Donovan could lock onto targets faster than anyone. His secret was simple. He never waited for fighters to enter his zone. He hunted them before they got there. By March 1944, Donovan was assigned to the 390th Bombardment Group in Framlingham, England. His B-17 Hell's Fury already had a reputation. 3 missions, 2 near disasters. The previous tailgunner, Sergeant Eddie Morrison, had barely survived and immediately requested transfer. "That position's cursed," he said. "Next man dies there?" Donovan volunteered without hesitation. Captain James Whitmore, the pilot, interviewed him personally. "You know the odds?" Whitmore asked. "Tailgunners have the highest casualty rate. 38% don't finish their tour." "Then I've got 62% odds," Donovan replied. "I'll take them." "Why?" "Because I don't wait for them to shoot me. I shoot first." Whitmore stared at him, then grinned. "You're insane. You'll fit right in." Donovan's first mission came on March 2, 1944. Target: the ball-bearing factory at Schweinfurt. He shot down 1 Bf 109 and damaged 2 others. But what caught everyone's attention wasn't his score. It was his style. Standard tailgunners fired defensively, waiting for fighters to close in, conserving ammunition, protecting the aircraft. Donovan flipped the rulebook. He fired bursts at fighters still forming up, forcing them to scatter before attacking. His logic was brutal and clear. 1 burst at 800 yards costs 20 rounds. 1 disrupted attack saves 10,000 pounds of bomber and 9 lives. The math made sense. On his second mission, March 4, targeting another factory, Donovan experimented again. When Bf 109s attacked from 6 o'clock high, he ignored the lead fighter and went for the wingman. The one not expecting return fire. The one flying steady to maintain formation. The wingman exploded mid-air. The leader, suddenly alone, broke off. The entire attack collapsed. After landing, crew chief Frank Murphy checked his ammo. "You fired 1,600 rounds," Murphy said. "Standard load is 2,000. You used 80% on 1 mission." "And we didn't get hit?" Donovan replied. "I'll take that trade every time." But for Michael Donovan, that still wasn't enough. He'd prevented attacks. He'd broken formations, but he hadn't yet maximized his effectiveness. That night in the barracks, he studied German fighter tactics. How they approached, where they positioned, what they expected. German fighters attacked bombers in coordinated waves, 4 to 6 in echelon, coming from the stern quarter high. The lead drew defensive fire. The wingman exploited the gunner's focus on the primary threat. The standard American response was the same. Track the lead. Engage when you're certain of hits. Conserve ammunition for multiple attacks. Donovan saw the flaw. American gunners were reactive. The Germans controlled the tempo. Initiative belonged to the attacker. Every defensive doctrine assumed the enemy decided the timing. What if you reversed it? What if you struck first and forced the enemy to react? March 6, 1944. Pre-mission briefing. Target: aircraft factory at Augsburg. 800 B-17s, 2,500 enemy fighters expected. Intelligence predicted heavy losses. Whitmore gathered his crew. "This one's going to be rough. Stay sharp. Stay alive." Donovan raised his hand. "Permission to try something different, sir." "Like what?" "Aggressive fire. I want to engage fighters before they commit to attack runs. Force them to defend." Whitmore frowned. "That burns ammunition. You'll be dry before the real fight." "Or I'll prevent the real fight," Donovan said. "We've been playing defense for 2 years. How's that working? 38% tail gunner casualty rate. Maybe it's time we stop waiting to get shot." The pilot considered, then nodded. "You've got one mission to prove it. If we get shredded, you're off the gun." "Deal." They took off at 06:47. Formation assembled over East Anglia, climbed, crossed the Channel, entered German airspace at 08:24. The routine felt mechanical until the call at 09:19. Fighters 6 o'clock high, 12. "Bandits." Donovan swiveled his twin 50s. 12 Bf-109s, 2,000 yards out, forming for a coordinated run. The standard playbook said wait until they commit, then engage the lead. Donovan did neither. He opened fire immediately at 2,000 yards, maximum range, low hit probability. Tracers arced through empty sky. Most rounds missed by hundreds of feet, but the effect was instant. The German formation scattered. The lead broke right. Wingman hesitated. The attack pattern disintegrated before it began. "Cease fire, you're wasting ammo," Whitmore crackled. "Negative, sir. Watch." The fighters regrouped, but now came cautiously, probing instead of diving, hesitant. The initiative had shifted. Donovan tracked the new lead, waited to 1,500 yards, and opened again. Short, controlled bursts meant not to kill, but to intimidate. It worked. The formation broke once more. 1 Bf-109, the left wingman, kept his course. Aggressive, experienced, unlikely to be cowed. Donovan recognized the type and changed tactics. He let the fighter close. 1,400 yards. 1,300. 1,200. The range where most gunners would begin sustained fire. He held him in. 1,100. 1,000. Now the German filled his sights. Donovan fired. Not a burst, but a sustained barrage. 200 rounds in 3 seconds. The sky lit up with a storm of gunfire. The Bf-109 tried to pull away, but it flew straight into Donovan's stream of tracers. The engine erupted. The aircraft tore apart, and fragments spiraled toward the earth. "A clean kill. Donovan just splashed one," the radio operator shouted. But Donovan wasn't celebrating. His eyes were already locked on the next threat. The remaining 11 fighters regrouped. They knew now that the tail position was deadly. They'd adjust, attack from multiple angles, force him to split his focus. Classic counter to an aggressive defense. Donovan was ready. As 6 fighters swung in from 6 o'clock and 5 from 7, he ignored half the danger. "Waste gunners, you've got 7. "I'm holding 6, he barked. Sergeants Tommy Price and Carl Johnson opened fire at the flanking group, while Donovan zeroed in on the head-on threat. 6 fighters dove straight at Hell's Fury. He tracked the lead plane, fired, hit. Instant explosion. The others scattered. Donovan shifted aim, squeezed the triggers. Another hit. Another blast. In 30 seconds, 3 Bf-109s were down. The rest turned tail and fled, retreating from a single gun position. As the formation pressed forward, Donovan reloaded. 1,200 rounds spent. 800 left. Enough for one long fight, or 2 short ones. The question hung in his mind. Would they come back? They did. 15 minutes later, 18 fighters, an entire staffel, swooped in. They'd learned from the first wave. This time, attacks came from every angle. 6, 7, 5, 4 o'clock. A storm of tracers converged on Hell's Fury. Standard orders said spread the fire, survive through luck and chaos. Donovan chose violence. He ignored the 4 and 5 o'clock threats, letting the other gunners handle them. His focus stayed dead ahead, 6 o'clock. 6 Bf-109s charged straight at the tail. Donovan didn't flinch. At 1 in 200 yards, he opened fire. Closing speed, 400 knots. 7 seconds to firing range. He used everyone. The tracers walked into the lead fighter's path. The German held steady. Fatal mistake. At 800 yards, rounds tore through the canopy. The plane rolled inverted and fell away. 5 left, 400 yards. 3 seconds to impact. Donovan switched to the next. No time to aim, just instinct. He fired not where it was, but where it would be. The second fighter flew straight into his bullets. The engine exploded into orange flame, scattering debris through the sky. The last 3 fighters broke formation immediately. No counterattack, no second pass. Just panic. Jesus Christ! Whitmore's voice cracked through the intercom. Donovan just splashed 2 more. In 3 seconds. But Donovan wasn't celebrating. He was reloading. His last ammunition belt. 400 rounds left, and the mission was only half over. They still had to reach the target, drop their bombs, and fly home through the same fighter-infested airspace. The formation kept heading for Augsburg, while German fighters regrouped at a distance. 12 aircraft remaining from the original 18. They'd learned their lesson. Direct stern attacks cost too much. They needed a new tactic. What came next surprised everyone. The German fighters didn't dive in. They shadowed the bombers, staying just outside gun range and waiting. Whitmore recognized the pattern instantly. They're calling in reinforcements. We're about to get hit with everything they've got, he said. And he was right. 10 minutes later, radar blipped new contacts. 36 fighters, a full group. 3 staffs of Bf-109s and FW-190s. Combined with the 12 already stalking them, Hell's Fury now faced 48 enemy fighters against a single B-17's defensive armament. Standard procedure. Radio for fighter escort, Titan formation with nearby bombers, overlap defensive fire, and survive through coordination. But Hell's Fury had drifted from formation during the earlier attacks. The nearest friendly bomber was 3 miles away, and no P-51 escorts were in range. They were alone. Donovan checked his ammo. 380 rounds against 48 fighters. The math didn't add up. Unless he changed the equation, over the intercom he asked, "Permission to try something." "What?" came the reply. "Attack." Silence, then Whitmore's careful, controlled voice. "Explain." Donovan laid it out. The fighters were organizing for a coordinated assault. Give them 2 minutes, and they'd hit from every angle at once. We can't defend that, but we can disrupt it. If I engage while they're still forming up, I can force them to scatter before they're ready. You'll be out of ammo in 30 seconds. Then make those seconds count, Whitmore said after 3 seconds of thought. Do it. If you get us killed, I'm writing your family a very angry letter. Donovan didn't waste another heartbeat. The German formation sat 2,000 yards out, lead elements marking attack vectors, trailing units sliding into support. Perfect vulnerability. Donovan opened up. Not short, controlled bursts, not suppressive fire, but maximum sustained barrage. He poured 200 rounds into the formation's center in 8 seconds, not at specific aircraft, but into the space where coordination lived. The effect was instantaneous and brutal. Tracers stitched through the formation's core. 1 Bf-109 ignited and spiraled down. 2 others collided trying to evade, and the unit disintegrated into chaos. 48 fighters scattered in every direction. No coordination, no plan. Just pilots trying to survive. Whitmore's unfinished "Holy" said enough. One tail gunner's suicidal, perfectly timed attack had broken up the largest fighter assault any of them had ever seen. But Donovan knew the truth. He'd bought them time. Maybe 2 minutes, maybe less. The Germans would regroup, angrier and more aggressive, and the next strike would come fast and furious. He had 180 rounds left. The enemy reformed faster than expected. 90 seconds. And this time they abandoned coordinated tactics. They swarmed in from the darkened sky. 12 enemy fighters dove from 6 o'clock, all at once. No formation, no tactics, just raw, overwhelming aggression. Donovan didn't panic. He picked his targets with cold precision. Not the nearest, not the loudest, but the heart of the swarm. The place where their courage came from. He unleashed 30-round bursts into 3 consecutive aircraft. All 3 were hit. 1 erupted in flames, 2 spun away, trailing smoke. 9 fighters remained, closing fast, 400 yards. Cannon fire filled the air. Tracers streaked past Hell's Fury's tail. Some found their mark. Metal screamed as rounds tore through the fuselage. The bomber shook violently, but Donovan stayed locked in. Target, burst, target, burst, mechanical precision. No fear, no hesitation. Another Bf-109 went down. Then another. 5 left. 200 yards, point-blank range. Donovan could see their faces now. Young men, steady hands, full of intent. He didn't flinch. 2 more enemy planes exploded. 3 remained. 100 yards. Too close. Collision danger rising. The survivors broke formation, peeling off hard. Donovan tracked 1 final fighter, squeezed the trigger. Click. Nothing. The guns were empty. All guns dry, Donovan called out over the intercom. Copy, came Whitmore's voice. Damage report. The crew checked in. Ball turret scratched, rudder showing fractures. But everyone alive. Hell's Fury still flew. Still fought, just without her tail guns. The German pilots knew it. They regrouped. 27 left from 48. 21 destroyed by 1 bomber, 1 man. The loss was devastating. But now the tail was defenseless. They lined up again, 6 o'clock low, the one angle Donovan couldn't cover. This was no battle now. It was execution. Donovan watched them close in. 400 yards. 300. 200? He had no ammunition left, but he had 1 weapon, psychology. He swung his empty guns toward the lead fighter, tracking perfectly, steady, deliberate, as if his weapons were still live. The German pilot saw it. Twin 50s locked dead on his canopy. Instinct screamed louder than reason. He broke hard right. The formation followed. Reflex, not thought. They believed he could still fire, because his reputation said he could. Fear did the work his bullets couldn't. They're breaking off, the ball turret gunner shouted, voice cracking with relief. And they were. The Germans scattered, never regrouping. 21 fighters lost to 1 bomber. The cost was too high. The legend of Hell's Fury was born that day, not through firepower, but through fear. They broke off completely and flew back to their bases, leaving Hell's Fury alone in hostile airspace with empty tail guns. The bomber stream continued to Augsburg, dropped its bombs, destroyed the aircraft factory, and then ran the gauntlet home through 3 more fighter contacts. Yet none engaged Hell's Fury. Word had spread over German radio. 1 B-17 with an insane tail gunner had single-handedly knocked down 21 fighters. The message was clear. Avoid that aircraft. Too dangerous, too costly. Hell's Fury landed at Framelingham at 16:47 hours, 9 hours after takeoff. Donovan climbed out of the tail turret with steady hands, no tremor, no visible stress. The ground crew swarmed the ship, counting damage. 47 bullet holes, 13 cannon strikes, a destroyed hydraulic line, a cracked rudder, and still it had flown. It had survived. Crew Chief Murphy inspected the tailgun position and the ammunition boxes, all empty, every round expended. He found Donovan sitting on the tarmac, smoking. "You used everything," Murphy said. 2,000 rounds. "You fired every bullet we loaded." "Had to," Donovan replied. "Couldn't waste any." "How many did you get?" Whitmore asked. Murphy checked his notes, cross-referenced crew reports, German radio intercepts, and visual confirmations from escort fighters that had finally caught up near the target. 12 confirmed, Murphy said. 4 probables, 3 damaged. Whitmore looked at Donovan. "You destroyed 12 fighters in 1 mission. 19 if you count probables and damaged," Murphy added, all in 4 minutes of sustained combat. The news raced through the bomber group before sunset. By morning, every tail gunner at Framlingham wanted Donovan's tactics. By afternoon, pilots from other groups requested briefings. By evening, 8th Air Force Headquarters had dispatched representatives to interview him. Major General Frederick Anderson, commanding officer of the Bomber Command, arrived in person and found Donovan in the enlisted men's barracks, cleaning his guns. Just standard maintenance, nothing theatrical. Anderson introduced himself. Donovan snapped to attention. "At ease, Sergeant. I'm here to understand what you did yesterday." Donovan explained his philosophy: aggressive fire, psychological intimidation, attacking during the enemy's formation phase, exploiting the moment of vulnerability before their coordination solidified. Anderson listened without interruption. When Donovan finished, the general asked one question: "Can you teach this to the right men?" "Not everyone's got the temperament," Donovan said. "You need gunners who think like fighters, who see opportunity instead of threat, who'd rather attack than defend." "Find them," Anderson ordered. "I'm authorizing a special training program. You'll develop the curriculum, select candidates, and transform tail gunner tactics across the entire 8th Air Force, effective immediately. You're reassigned to Training Command." Donovan hesitated. "Sir, I prefer to stay with my crew." "Your crew doesn't need you anymore," Anderson said bluntly. "They're alive because of what you did. Other crews are dying because their gunners don't know what you know. Which is more important, 9 men or 9,000? The answer was obvious. Donovan accepted the assignment and spent the next month developing what became the Donovan Doctrine: aggressive tail gunnery. Its core principles were simple but revolutionary. First, seize the initiative. Don't wait for fighters to strike. Engage during their formation phase and force them to react to you. Second, use psychological warfare. Your first burst doesn't have to destroy a target. It has to intimidate the formation. Make them cautious. Make them hesitate. Make them question their every move. Third principle: focus fire. When outnumbered, never divide your attention. Pour every ounce of firepower into the most dangerous threat. Trust your fellow gunners to handle the rest. Fourth principle: ammunition economy through aggression. 30 rounds that scatter 12 enemy fighters are far more effective than 300 rounds wasted chasing them. Prevention always costs less than reaction. Fifth principle: accept risk. Tail gunners suffered some of the highest casualty rates under defensive tactics. Aggressive methods increased exposure, yes, but they saved missions. It was a trade. Individual risk for collective survival. The mission mattered more than the man. At first, the Donovan Doctrine faced backlash. Traditional gunners called it reckless. Commanders worried about wasted ammo. Instructors called it suicide. But numbers don't lie. In March 1944, before Donovan's methods spread, tail gunner casualty rates in the 8th Air Force averaged 38%. By June, after adopting his aggressive doctrine, they dropped to 23%. Same missions, same enemies, different tactics. A 15% reduction in deaths. But survival wasn't the only victory. In March, German fighters completed 52% of their attack runs. By June, only 27%. Aggressive tail fire shattered their coordination so badly that over half of all German strikes were aborted before even firing. The psychological effect was enormous. German pilots began avoiding bombers known to have Donovan-trained gunners. Radio intercepts even caught their squadron leaders warning, "Stay clear of those formations." Between March and August 1944, Donovan trained over 300 gunners. 2 weeks of brutal drills, live fire simulations, and mental conditioning. He preached one rule above all: fear happens when you react. Confidence happens when you act first. Not everyone could live by it. About 30% failed, unable to let go of defensive instincts or face the brutal risk. But those who passed became legends. By war's end, Donovan's graduates accounted for 43% of all tail gunner kills in Europe. They refined his ideas, created new tactics, and pushed the doctrine beyond its founder. Sergeant Thomas Bailey downed 16 fighters in just 4 missions. Robert Chen survived 27 without a single hit to his gun position. The aggressive style didn't just raise kill counts, It boosted survival through fear. German pilots learned the signs: early long-range fire, constant tracer streams, no hesitation. When they saw it, they broke off immediately. The danger wasn't worth it. By summer 1944, even Luftwaffe training manuals warned, avoid bombers employing aggressive defense. The fear had flipped. Now, German fighters dreaded the American gunners. Donovan's flying days ended after that March 6 mission. He never returned to combat, devoting the rest of the war to training others. Yet his influence lived on. Conservative estimates credit the Donovan doctrine with saving 300 bombers and 3,000 airmen. Its ripple effects reshaped the entire air campaign. After the war, historians studied his methods. Nations across the world, Britain, the Soviet Union, even post-war Germany, adopted principles of aggressive defense in their aerial tactics. The concept expanded to fighters, ground attack aircraft, even naval operations. But Donovan himself went home to Boston, took a job in construction, and faded quietly into civilian life. When journalists found him in the 1960s, he refused interviews. He'd said all he needed to, through the doctrine that changed the skies forever. "I did what needed doing," he said. So did 300 other gunners. They're the real story. One of those gunners, Bailey, didn't agree. In a 1972 interview, he explained Donovan's true impact. "Before him, we thought survival meant hiding, making ourselves smaller targets, saving ammo. Mike taught us survival means making the enemy afraid to attack you." Sounds simple. Changes everything. The numbers proved Bailey's point. The 8th Air Force ran detailed analyses in 1945, comparing bomber losses before and after adopting aggressive gunner tactics. From March through May 1944, the average loss rate was 14 bombers per 1,000 sorties. From June through August, it dropped to 8. Same targets, same German defenses, a 43% reduction in losses. The difference? Gunners who shot first, captured German records confirmed it. Luftwaffe after-action reports from summer 1944 frequently noted unusual American gunner aggression. One report from June stated, "American tail gunners now engage during the approach phase with continuous fire. The result is psychological disruption of attack coordination." Recommendation: avoid direct stern approaches. Use high-angle diving attacks from 11 or 1 o'clock positions. But that recommendation was hard to follow. High-angle attacks needed new training, new coordination, and carried higher risk. Many German pilots couldn't adapt. Those who tried found themselves under fire from every angle, because the Donovan doctrine had spread through every gun position on American bombers. By August 1944, German fighter effectiveness against U.S. bombers had fallen 63% compared to January. Many factors played a part: better escorts, tighter formations, strikes on oil targets. But internal Luftwaffe analysis credited 28% of that decline to one thing: aggressive American gunners. Donovan never knew these numbers. He never saw the reports or realized the scale of his influence. He died in 1998, age 76. The Boston Globe obituary mentioned his Distinguished Service Cross, 16 years in construction, his wife Margaret, and their 3 children. One short paragraph mentioned his service. Tail gunner, 8th Air Force, developed new tactics. It didn't mention 12 kills in 4 minutes. Didn't mention 300 gunners trained. Didn't mention 3,000 lives saved. Didn't mention how one South Boston street fighter changed aerial combat doctrine for every nation that studied his methods. His funeral was small. 17 people, mostly family. 2 old war buddies. No honor guard, no 21-gun salute, just a quiet service at St. Augustine Cemetery. The priest didn't know about March 6, 1944. Didn't know the Donovan doctrine. Didn't know he was burying a man who changed the skies. But the tail gunners knew. Every veteran of aggressive gunner training gathered the night before at a South Boston bar. They raised their glasses, shared stories, and honored the man who taught them to shoot first and scare the hell out of the ones who wanted them dead. Bailey, now 74, gave the final toast. Mike Donovan never thought he was special, just a guy doing his job. But his job saved 3,000 of us, every bomber that made it home because German fighters broke off, every gunner who survived because he fought first, every mission that succeeded because the enemy lost their nerve. That's Mike's legacy. Not 12 kills, 12,000 lives. The Donovan doctrine still stands today. Fighter pilots learn aggressive engagement. Transport crews study psychological intimidation. Even modern missile defense systems apply his principle. Strike first to disrupt coordination. March 6, 1944, lasted 4 minutes. 1 tail gunner, 12 enemy fighters. The moment defense became offense, reaction became action. When one South Boston street fighter proved that survival isn't about hiding. It's about making your enemy too scared to fight. Michael Donovan fired 2,000 rounds, destroyed 12 aircraft, saved 3,000 lives, and changed aerial warfare forever. Not because he was special, because he refused to wait for death to find him. He went hunting first. If this story moved you, please like and subscribe. Your support helps us preserve these histories. Tell us in the comments where you're watching from, and thank you for remembering their names.